What's up, Legion? Welcome to I Still Call It a Lariat. Little bit of a change up this time. I am, of course, Steve Zapf. I am hosting a preview episode. That's not a thing that normally happens. Showtime and Hound are both unfortunately indisposed at the moment. So I have called in a ringer. I've gotten my friend Slim Burgundy back. Slim, how you doing today?
Just had to work out, got the fitness, had to get my fitness on.
Had to show off those guns a little bit.
Exactly,
I see that.
Exactly.
You got some tape for all those rips.
Hulk Hogan's got nothing on me. 27-inch. I got 35. I got 45-inch pythons.
Yeah. So today we will be previewing and giving predictions for AEW Double or Nothing 2025 from Arizona.
Do you like that it's Arizona instead of being in in Vegas the last 5 years?
Was it in Vegas the last 5 years?
I'm pretty sure.
You know what?
I think it was from the beginning of the 2018 onward.
And Double or Nothing, I mean, you can say All In was the actual first AEW pay-per-view, but the fact of the matter was that was an independent pay-per-view. AEW Double or Nothing is the first pay-per-view that they ever did, and it still is showcased. The original one is showcased by what I consider to be, if it's not the best, a top 3 match in AEW history, which was Cody versus Dustin. That match is hands down one of the best matches, both in physicality and storytelling in AEW history. And honestly, this show, I say this all the time, as much as I may critique AEW in certain ways, their pay-per-views deliver. And I think this is going to be another situation where that delivers. Slim, just going by the matches, is there anything you're super excited for this show?
So I will admit, I was a little bit disappointed at first when they decided to go Hangman Page over Kyle Fletcher, because the thought of another Ospreay Kyle Fletcher match was so tantalizing. But then I took a step back and I thought about it, and I realized I don't give Hangman Page the credit he deserves. Dude is crazy talented. It is going to be an absolutely fantastic match. And the fact that now they're going to main event means they're going to go really pulling out all the stops.
I agree.
So yes, that match is probably the one I'm the most looking forward to. I mean, that's going to, and if you really look up and down, what is the card right now? Up and down, there are going to be some absolutely fantastic matches.
So I think I'm most excited for, I'm very excited for all these matches, actually. I think this is actually a very well put together card as far as,
definitely,
if we looked at nothing storyline wise, but we looked at these matches in a vacuum, just this show, this is a great card. I won't get into anything more than that. So the one that I'm going for, especially in a vacuum, and I wouldn't be surprised if it steals the show a little bit, is Mark Briscoe versus Ricochet in a stretcher match.
Both of them are incredible workers, and you added a gimmick to a match that isn't overly done.
It's not overly done,
because you could have did the no holds barred. You could have did the what are some other matches that are way
they do them all, and I'm actually excited. This show doesn't have a ton of gimmick matches in it.
I think that's important sometimes. I think AEW, I definitely think AEW, and this is probably what you're about to say, they overload
it. They overload gimmick matches sometimes, and Tony Khan loves him a gimmick. I will say this.
Now, to be fair, I will say this. To be fair, WWE has gimmick pay-per-views.
I completely agree. I'm just saying, so.
But I do agree with you completely.
I say this for WWE all the time. Their gimmicks, as much as they call it a different name a lot of times, they're all the same match.
Yeah, no, they are.
Bloodline rules, no DQ, no holds barred, falls count anywhere. They're all the same match, basically. They're all the same basic match. The only thing I have an issue with this match, though, the Briscoe Ricochet match, is they haven't had any real singles matches before this, and that is the only critique I will have on this match. And I've said this to you before, Slim, and I'm going to stand by my convictions on this. I don't like a first match being a blow-off match.
I agree with that.
If
And
they
also,
had,
to me, have they had enough interaction? Have they had enough build for that?
that's the thing is a lot of their stuff has been involved in teams where they just happen to be on the other side of the team. So they like the personal aspect of this doesn't seem overly personal. Now, with that said, Mark Briscoe is a goddamn national treasure. And heel nerd psychopath Ricochet is reinvigorating his career because he's finally showing that he has some character.
Oh, first off, Ricochet is doing the best work that I've ever seen him right now. Like his work in AEW, for all the criticism of former WWE guys coming to AEW that we can give, and there's plenty. Absolutely, there's a lot of criticism that is deserved on how they utilize some of these people who come over. This is one of those people. This is one of those situations where they have 100% hit a home run on Ricochet.
So this is one of those times with Ricochet. This is one of those times with Ricochet. I do agree with you, and we say it all the time. You and I have both said it. This is Ricochet, though. I think this is really his. This is his.
They let him take the ball and run with it. They didn't say, we're going to tell you how to do things. They said, be yourself. And that, I think, made such a difference.
So I've been saying this for years, though. Ricochet is a heel. If you look at his promos all throughout his WWE run, his NXT run, he cuts a heel promo. It just so happens that he's a smaller dude that does such phenomenal stuff in the ring that it's hard to boo him. But Ricochet on paper is a heel. But with that said, before we get too into this, let's start reviewing the actual pay-per-view. So the match that I have opening for right now is Jamie Hayter and Mercedes Monet in the Owen Hart Women's Finals. I think this match is going to be amazing, Slim. I really do.
Well, they're both great workers, and I think finally, I was waiting for that aspect for Mercedes to kind of hit her stride, and I think I would say, what do you think? Since she had maybe back in like November when she had that match against the first match against what's her name, Meb? Oh my gosh, who used to run around with Orange Cassidy in them and used to be a quote unquote alien? Statlander, thank you. I think since that point she's started to really round into her AEW form.
So I'll actually say this. I think it might be a hair before that, because don't forget was it Forbidden Door, which was just before that? I think at Forbidden Door
would have been June of last year.
She had the match with Stephanie Vaquer.
And I think you're right. I think that actually was Forbidden Door.
And that was the first time I was like, okay, this is exactly the match that she should be having. I'm gonna say this. I think Mercedes is taking this. I could be really wrong with this. I think, but I do. I think it's Mercedes, and part of the reason I think it's Mercedes is I like Jamie Hayter, and I think Jamie Hayter is a phenomenal wrestler. But Jamie Hayter before she got injured in AEW, and Jamie Hayter since she's come back, it's like two completely different entities. Jamie Hayter before she left was over, like so over. She had a look. She was in the ring amazing. I'm not taking anything away from her in the ring currently, but her current look, the aspect in which they present her, or whether or not they're letting her present herself that way, it doesn't do anything.
It's not resonating a little bit.
The Daphne from Scooby-Doo look that she's got going on is not working for me. And I'm not trying to body shame or anything like that.
No. I wonder though if it's more a nervousness because it was a pretty serious injury if I remember correctly.
So that's the thing. Her matches are still good, but her presentation is just I've never seen I've never seen someone that everyone wanted back so badly almost be like, well, I guess we're happy about this. And you could almost pinpoint this to when she came back. You wasted her, and I'm not going to bash on AEW too much because I do think this is a good card and I think this is going to be a good match. But you wasted Jamie Hayter coming back in Wembley, but on the pre-show.
Yeah,
You could have done you.
I wonder if they weren't sure if she was going to get cleared, and it was more of a last minute type of thing. I wonder if that.
I still think they could have done that mid card, and had and especially Paige, Soraya, whatever you want to call her. I think that would have meant more if she tried to hold up the pay-per-view in the middle of the pay-per-view, and then Jamie Hayter comes out, and I think that would have hit better. Slim, you're not usually in our picks with this, but we do always have picks. Who are you picking on this one? You think we got?
I'm torn on this one because like I was telling you,
this is a hard one.
Before we went on and started recording, I told you, I think this match is going to have a cascading effect on the title match tonight, on Double or Nothing as well. So for me, I look at it as if Hayter does win, that means Shirakawa will win the women's title. And that's, Mina can absolutely run with it. I think she is fantastic. Her ability in the ring, and she gets over with fans, even though she's, you can tell obviously English is not her primary language.
No.
She gets over though really well.
She's so over. So I've agreed with you. I'll agree with you on this one because you have said this for the last few months. That they are working towards Tony versus Mercedes.
I absolutely think it's Tony Mercedes.
I think All In is going to be whether it's for the world title or for the TBS title.
Exactly.
I see. We were on the same wavelength on that one. I still think Mercedes wins this. I think what their plan is
to a gun to my head right now. I would say Mercedes as well. I still will I will give the nod to Mercedes, but I could see Hayter winning, and if that happens, I'm going to look for Mina to win versus Toni Storm.
And so the other reason I could agree with you as far as Hayter winning this is, so Mercedes finally lost one of those titles. She lost the NJPW Strong title. It was in a 3-way match, I think, or a 4-way match. Yeah, I think it was a 3-way match with also involving Mina Shirakawa and AZM from New Japan or from Shimmer, whichever company. It's all the same company at that point. And after they did the title eliminator that Mina won, Mercedes jumped AZM. So I could see her coming back for Retribution during this match and Hayter possibly winning that way.
And I'd be okay with that. Like I said, I think that would still be a smart way of taking, and maybe that's the kind of thing that could have a double effect where you could get a little sympathy for Mercedes, but also help to get Hayter that push that she needs to get out of her funk.
I agree. I agree with that. I think no matter what, this match is going to be awesome. The reason why I have it as the opener on here, Legion, is I'm a big believer that they are going to split the Owen Hart Cup Finals matches to the opposite ends of the show. I could be completely wrong.
But you shouldn't be. You should absolutely be 100% on that because that's smart booking. Tony, listen to us. Tony,
TK. I know Tony listens to us. I know he does. So I am saying that is what the booking should be. But I do know
smart booking to do it that way.
AEW a lot of times does an ascending order type thing where they'll put their women's title match just before their world title match, and it's a bad placement for the match. I say it for Toni Storm all the time. Her match isn't the issue. Her match placement is the issue a lot of times. It makes it look bad by comparison.
I'm like, why is Toni Storm not main eventing a card?
Or opening. I want her opening. Like I want her in there in a virgin ring. So the second match I have on this card, because I think after you get Hayter and Mercedes, I think you're gonna want something hot, and you're gonna get Kazuchika Okada, the Continental Champion, versus Mike Speedball Bailey.
I normally wouldn't have agreed with it, but when you told me before we got jumped on, you told me your reasoning behind it. It actually makes a ton of sense.
So Okada likes to go early. He wrestled. If you look at every pay-per-view that Okada's on, he's fairly early on the show.
If he's not, you're right. If he's not main eventing, he's pretty damn early.
And I wouldn't be surprised, especially since they're so clearly working towards Okada versus Kenny to unify those titles, because Kenny's the international champion and Okada's the continental, and then you will have the intercontinental champion. It's never been done before. Never been seen. It's first time. First time. No company has ever had an intercontinental champion. But I wouldn't be surprised if Okada and Kenny open All In.
I could see that. But here's also another reason why it's smart to get Okada. I don't want to say out of the way. I hate saying it that way because that match should be fantastic. But
he's going to get involved later.
Exactly.
I was going to say that too.
In Anarchy in the arena.
I think he's going to get involved later. I think as good as this match is,
Kenny, and that I think is what's going to start the tit for tat that will lead to that match at All In.
So as much as this match is going to be good, I don't see any world where Okada doesn't win. I don't see any world where Okada doesn't win with the Rainmaker. I hate that move, but
but it's what you're known for. It's what quote unquote brought you to the dance.
You know what?
And it makes sense
I dislike the move because it's an AEW, and I'll explain why a little bit. I appreciate the Rainmaker because it's at least Jesus Christ.
Uh-oh. So Steve dropped off. I'll wait for him to come back on. In the meantime, I'll kind of give you my thoughts while we're waiting on him. So I agree with him. I think hitting the Rainmaker to win, it has to set up a strong victory. I think that having a weak win would make 0 sense in the big scheme of things. A weak win by Okada would just kind of be like, huh? Like, what are we doing here? So that I 100% am in agreement with. Definitely have to have a strong win. How do you have a strong win? You have to hit the Rainmaker. Mike Bailey, I think Speedball, though, he's going to be okay in a losing effort because he's got that talent that he's going to be involved in some title matches at some point. So I think you're going to see that having a Okada victory with the Rainmaker will make the most sense. Now, I agree with what Steve was saying. I think you're going to have a situation where having to pull some shenanigans and with the, and I get what Steve was saying too, as far as his frustration with the Rainmaker in AEW being his finisher. When you have guys who are doing such big moves, yeah, I could see that, but I don't have as big of a problem with it. Not that he's wrong with this thought process. I just don't happen to have a very big problem with the move.
Oh, hey.
He's back. There he is. I was holding down the fort, giving people my thoughts on there and kind of...
I appreciate you.
Yeah, I basically was just saying that I don't have as big of a problem with the Rainmaker. I know you're frustrated with the Rainmaker. Mainly, it's an AEW thing.
It's not an AEW thing. Okay, so what I was saying about the Rainmaker, to recap, sorry about the technical difficulty, folks. I'm sure I will fix this in post. But my thing with the Rainmaker is by comparison to a lot of the moves that get done in AEW, the Rainmaker looks weak. Now, with that said, what I love about the Rainmaker is it's a protected finisher.
Yes, they are very, very protective over it.
There are two moves in AEW that are actually protected. The Rainmaker and the One-Winged Angel.
Yeah.
That's it. Everything else, everyone kicks out of. And I know it's a conversation you and I have had before. I'm a big believer that Kyle Fletcher's brainbuster should start getting protected.
I think you are going to see that happening.
I think it really, really needs to happen.
The Tiger Driver 98.
So the 93 something, whatever it is. The Tiger Driver is one of those protected moves
very often.
He just doesn't break it out. Yeah.
But I kind of like that it's kind of a break glass in case of emergency type of move.
I could see
like that aspect.
I could see that he doesn't break it out against Hangman, but he does.
I don't think he will.
I think he'll break it out against Moxley.
I think you will too with that. I definitely see that happening.
Which I don't want to bury the lead too much on that one. Sorry. Sorry about that, guys.
But yeah, kind of. Let me ask you this real quick with Okada and Bayley, because I know we want to keep things moving. Do you honestly? I'm of the mindset. I think Bayley, even though this is a weird statement to make, I think it's going to do more for Bayley in a losing effort against Okada. I think if they do it right, he's going to springboard massively from that because of the sympathy and the baby face overage potential for him.
So
he's already pretty well liked by the fans, but he has a chance if they do it right.
So I really like Speedball Mike Bailey, and I think this is a good spot for him. I liked him when he was in TNA. I thought TNA was a better fit for him, if that makes sense. It just the structure of TNA was a better fit for him.
I think he'll be okay.
I think he'll be fine. I think, again, as far as this title goes, Okada's absolutely keeping it. I do agree with you. This will look good for him on a losing effort. I think Speedball Mike Bailey's spot for title contention is the TNT title.
And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with that. I think they just need to change the name of those titles. I hate that they're the TNT and the TBS. Just call it the TV title. Call it the TV title.
I don't know what I will say this. I don't know what the copyright status with that kind of stuff is. I don't know if WWE has a stranglehold on that as a copyright. That's the only reason I could think of that.
No, because NWA still has a TV. You can't not call something a title. Like, you can't copyright the title.
I'm pretty sure you can, though.
No, because
I think you can.
Because if they were going to do it with anything, they would have done it with the Intercontinental title, because they were the only company that was doing it, and New Japan went and did it.
Okay.
So copyright is worldwide. It doesn't matter. It's not just a
no, you're right.
So and NWA has a TV title.
Interesting. Okay, maybe they can't copyright that. I thought they could.
I think that's a situation where it's a concept.
Gotcha. But anyway, I think we're both in agreement. Okada, Rainmaker, 1, 2, 3, middle
agree. And like I said, after that, Speedball goes after what should be the TV title. Slim, I'm gonna ask you this because Hound and I are in agreement with this one. I wish if they were to change the TNT title over to the TV title, that they went back to old school NWA WCW TV title rules, which was the reason why you were called the best wrestler on television is you wrestled on every televised event. You defended the title every televised event. So,
well, it's kind of like the Intercontinental title is kind of that quote unquote workman's title. I want to see that.
It was a workhorse title. It was also.
I want that from the TV title too, and I think you're right. The TNT title and the TBS title both
now
don't have that same yet. I'll say yet.
The other thing that I wish that they did too is if they instituted old school TV title rules, is the old school TV title used to have a 15-minute time limit.
I would be okay if they did like a 15 or 20-minute time limit on there.
So that was a big thing, especially if they're still really trying to get this third program that they're talking about. And it would have been perfect with Rampage, because the reason why the TV title works so well is you used to get WCW Saturday night, and for Saturday night recordings, the TV champion actually used to record 4 matches. They would do 4 weeks worth of TV in one night. So like Steven Regal, William Regal, Ricky Steamboat, all these guys, they used to have to wrestle 3 or 4 times. And what they would say is whatever time the match was 15 minutes or TV time limit remaining. Yep. So if there was only 12 minutes left on the show, there was only 12 minutes left in the match.
Now, to be fair, I will say this. I love that it's a 2-hour, and this is something that I've heard SmackDown might be going back to the 2-hour format.
I want SmackDown back to 2 hours. Yeah.
Here's what I love about I like the way AEW does it, and it's the way that Raw was a decade ago. It was a 2-hour show, or a little more than a decade ago. It was a 2-hour show with a little bit of run over time, potential there, and that's okay. I don't mind that. You have, it's a 2-hour show. If it ends at 2 hours, great. If there's a little bit of run over, no big deal to me.
I don't
But
mind
when
the
you
run
start having to
over.
do a 3-hour show, then that's too much.
My thing with Dynamite does it specifically. Dynamite is always the run over one. My thing is
Collision's pretty good about cutting it at 2 hours.
Dynamite's run over varies, and I think that's where my issue is like Raw used to be like, oh, it's like till 10:08 or something like that, and every time it was always 10:08.
A lot of times it was still 10. It was at one point it was still 10:15, or actually 11:15 because it was when it was 9 o'clock start.
And they wouldn't. I think that's part of it is
anytime within that 15-minute block.
Kind of the point for a run over though was it helps ratings because you get lead in and intro and exiting ratings type of thing for people tuning in for whatever the next show is. And it's looked like for AEW that the overrun, I think that's my issue, is they always have an overrun.
They definitely
do it
a lot.
They do it every week.
And it was a stretch where it was a once in a while thing.
That's the thing is I like it every so often. If they did it once a month.
I'm okay with it. I'm okay with the way it is, as long as it's not, because it's usually within 5 minutes. That's why I'm okay with it. Because it's most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time it's within like a 5-minute span.
Exactly. All right.
Now, so I would be okay if it was within that 5 minutes, unless, and once in a blue moon it went 15 or something, then that'd be fine. But I get what you're saying.
So let's
ultimately, yes, TV title. I agree with you guys.
Let's move on from the soon to be defunct Continental title to the AEW tag team titles. This is the Hurt Syndicate defending against the Sons of Texas, who are actually the Ring of Honor tag team champions. And the Sons of Texas are the Natural Dustin Rhodes, which I originally knew him as, and Sammy Guevara.
And I'm okay with this because, to me, they have some street cred, if you will, being that they are the Ring of Honor tag team champions.
Honor tag team champions.
Not like some random tag team saying, "Hey, we want to show."
I think this is going to be a good match. I think this is
where you have the chance to cement MJF in that storyline.
This is MJF getting cemented into this storyline, but also, as far as if you just look at this match on paper, Dustin Rhodes is a large man.
For sure.
And that cuts down on the aesthetic that is Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin, because Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin, overall, aside from some of AEW's top stars, are massive compared to them. And I think
really it actually creates a nice dynamic, because you're right. You have Dustin, who's a bigger guy.
He's a bigger dude, and then you have Sammy, and then you have Sammy, who's athletic. So,
who has that Shelton Benjamin aspect in that way.
I actually think Sammy and Dustin are a really nice dynamic as far as the tag team goes. You have the old outlaw that's still trying to, hey, I'm old, but I can still draw this gun pretty quick.
And he's also in the mindset he still wants to win that big one that he's, that he hasn't had a chance really to win. And
I don't think Dustin wants to retire anytime soon. They tried to pick.
I think within a couple of years, but I don't think he's there yet.
I think he's loving I think he loves wrestling. I think he loves being in there. I think he loves being in there.
Well, he's looked the last
few years amazing.
I'll say this. Since he's been part of AEW, he looks so rejuvenated to me. Like, he really, I think you could just tell there's a energy about him that he's like, man, I love coming to work. I love doing what I'm doing. You could tell he's helping younger wrestlers. He's helping. And that's really what I was hoping CM Punk would kind of be a little bit for AEW. Yeah, and obviously, it didn't happen that way to an extent, but not,
I mean, if you look at the guy,
Daniel Bryan was a great example of somebody who came in and really helped a lot of people too.
Punk, though, if you look at the guys that he gave a rub to, they were better for working with Punk afterwards.
That's true.
So
I agree with that.
The problem is realistically Punk
didn't work with.
He's still Phil, But at the same time, Punk didn't work with that many people while he was there, if you really look at it.
Yeah, true.
I mean, if you look at what he did, he worked with Samoa Joe, who he has a ton of history with. He did the stuff with Hangman, the stuff with Mox, and realistically, the people that he would have worked with that weren't already getting the treatment was Darby, and his match with Darby is amazing. I have nothing bad to say about that match. That was his debut match. It was in Chicago. It was at All Out, I believe. It was phenomenal. That match was absolutely phenomenal. And he had the dog collar match with MJF.
Which was a really good match.
Which was a really good match, and everything that you wanted from a dog collar match. And what I think cemented MJF into the next level, that you knew he was getting that world title sooner than later. I could see this with the Hurt Syndicate. I think they just don't know.
Bringing it full circle, tying it back around.
We're bringing it back around to this tag team title match with Hurt Syndicate and Sons of Anarchy. I do think the Hurt Syndicate's winning this. I don't think there's any.
I agree with you, but I think it's going to be a couple of false finishes where Sons of Texas are going to be like this close to winning.
I think it's going to
MJF
be like
it's going to cost them that win to help, again, like I said, cement his spot in that storyline.
I think Sammy's going to hit like a shooting star press and on one of them, and the other one's going to pull him off. I think Dustin's going to hit his bulldog and his lariat. Like this is going to be a good match. I think this is actually, what's funny is I think this is actually going to be one of the shorter matches on the card, though.
It's going to be shorter, but it's going to have a lot of impact.
I think I think it's going to be.
And that's, I think, a misconception of a lot of people. I don't know if you would agree with this, that sometimes a lot of people think short matches don't have the same pizzazz to them, the same impact to them. I disagree. I'm not saying every match should be short, but you can have a perfectly placed match like this that shouldn't be more than
10.
12 minutes, 10 minutes maybe.
I think this match honestly is 15 minutes curtain to curtain. Like,
and I'm okay with that.
Entrances and exits, 15 minutes. They get 10 minutes for the match, 5 minutes for entrances and leaving. And maybe, you know what? I'll go as far as going for this whole segment, 20 minutes, if it's something where MJF comes out to and starts beating on Sammy or something like that.
I agree with that, especially because now that he's had that fire lit under his ass to go hurt people, I could see after the match him
hurting somebody.
Yeah, I could see that.
I would be surprised if it's a situation where after the match he starts laying into somebody, like he puts on the ring and starts laying into Sammy and busts him open, and to the point where he almost goes rabid on him. And Lashley has to actually pull him off. Because
let me ask you this: do you think it's too soon to do the thing where he pulls him off and he almost looks like he's going to hit Lashley because he's so rabid?
I think it might be a little too early. I think it's a little bit too early for that. I think it's going to be one of those things where Lashley's going to pull him off and kind of throw him to the turnbuckle, and he's going to realize what happened. Because he's still the smart guy. I don't think he goes to swing for him.
They're smart. I really hope they're smart. It's a slow burn. I really hope they do, because if they do this right, this could be a fantastic storyline that could take you at least.
I think this could absolutely be a great
throughout the summer.
Yeah,
if not
I think
even
this
well
could be a
into the
definitely great storyline, and I could also see if this ends. I've said this with you on the show before. If this ends with MJF and MVP somehow teaming up at the end of this.
Now, I'm not for that particular aspect. I get your thought process.
So my only thought process
I'd be okay with it, but I would rather see MJF ultimately stab them, because they make such a big thing about him being a snake, him being that kind of.
So
I really hope he has his own, ultimately sets them up.
I just wouldn't be surprised though because this is always the scenario that I give with it. If MJF and MVP end up going off on their own, I see that very much being a Roman Heyman, a Punk Heyman situation. You got a guy who doesn't really need a manager to talk for him, but now you've got two guys that can talk the business into the building.
I think the only difference with that in that case would be is that MVP could have the occasional match. Obviously, Heyman
Cannot. He's a
Nobody wants to see
walrus.
him.
He's a walrus. It's okay. We can say it. All right, let's go on to what I think might be my favorite match of the night.
Well, before you go, real quick, let me just give you one last thought on what I could see. I agree with you. I think ultimately he will help cost the match. It'll be, MJF, and I think you're 100% right. I think after the match, it's either going to be Dustin or Sammy, and I hope it's Sammy because I think that would make for a fun
little fight.
Month or so where it could be a feud between them, and you could really help build out. But what I was going to say was, what I would like to see is when the Hurt Syndicate is going to drop the titles, which I hope isn't for a while. That's when you find out MJF, he helps screw them over, and MJF, though he's now leading that and created his own faction. That's
I could see
all
that.
I was supposed to
So let's go on to what usually is one of my favorite matches of the night, and that's Timeless Toni Storm defending her women's title. Toni Storm consistently gives me it might not be what is categorically considered the best match on the show, but it's still a lot of times is my favorite match on the show.
I don't know if you can see them right now, but you mentioned Toni Storm, and all of a sudden, the goosebumps.
I mean, I was going to try to put you in black and white real quick, but I don't know if I have that ability. So Timeless Toni Storm versus Mina Shirakawa. So, Slim, you and I were talking about Mina a little bit before. I forget if it was off air or on the show. I love Mina Shirakawa. First of all, I do too. There's a lot of things I really like about Mina Shirakawa, and I've said this. I've said this on the show. It's recorded. It's in the internet, which means I can't get rid of it. It's in the interwebs. Mina Shirakawa is a phenomenal in-ring performer.
Yes, she is.
I don't know how she does her entrance with the dance without blowing up, because I blow up watching it because I'm old and fat. Now then.
I know that feeling very well.
The other side of this is Mina Shirakawa is self-aware enough to also realize that she is eye candy and uses it completely to her advantage, which means she is a goddamn genius because she's completely comfortable with the fact that she knows who she is, that she has model good looks, but she is also amazing in the ring. And she plays both aspects so well. Now, I'm not taking anything away from Timeless Toni Storm, who is also a beautiful woman. I think this is a match of two lovely ladies who are going to put on an amazing wrestling match. Very hard-hitting because they both lay in their shots very nicely. And these are two women who are not just good women's wrestlers. They are good wrestlers.
Yes.
They put on good wrestling matches. They put on wrestling boots and get into a wrestling ring and put on a goddamn wrestling match because they're involved in pro wrestling.
And I'm glad you said it that way because I didn't want it to, I didn't want the Vince-esque, oh, look, they're two good-looking women. I'm going to get a hard on because I'm looking at two good-looking women.
If you want to hear where I actually equate these two, this type of match, this is UFC. This is Ronda Rousey versus Miesha Tate. This is two established, great professionals who also happen to be attractive women. The attractive women part of it is actually the secondary part of this match. The fact of the matter is Toni Storm is
probably, at least in my mind, I think she's number one of all wrestling right now. When it comes
in the world, there is no way that Toni Storm is not in the top 5 of my listing. In the world, I'm talking about any promotion, anywhere you look. Toni Storm, character work, in-ring work, what she does. Now, Slim, I have said this to you, and I know how I said it to you originally, I worded it wrong. I had said originally that I thought Toni was getting stale. I don't think Toni is getting stale. I think that they have run out of ideas for booking for her outside of just getting this match at All In with what will most likely be her and Mercedes.
And if before we went on, this is why I was saying to you, I think that's the match that they want, and I think what title it's going to be for and how they get there is going to be quite interesting.
Is going to be how what goes on here. Here is why I think Mina loses this match. Let me just. I'm going to play devil's advocate on this.
Yeah, go for it.
I think Mina loses this match because Mina is also the first person in Toni Storm's history, at least, to win a title eliminator. And out of all of the title eliminators for AEW, I think there's only been 3 people that have, or 3 title eliminator wins.
It's 3 or 4, and
Mina might have been 4.
I think she was 4, and I think she's the first woman to do it.
No, Anna Jay was the first woman. Anna Jay won one.
Was the first one.
But Anna Jay, but like Mina is still only number 4 out of 5 years of them doing these eliminators, which I don't like the eliminators. I've been open about
I know
this.
You're not a big fan. I'm okay if it's a once in a while thing.
I think that's my issue. They do them too.
Lately, they've been, yes, with Toni Storm at least.
I think that's the issue with my booking with Toni lately is Toni Storm. I'm sorry, not with Tony's booking, not like Tony Khan.
Well, a little bit with Tony's booking in certain aspects, but that's a different story.
With Timeless Toni Storm, I think what has made it feel stale to me is she's just going through these eliminators. Which here's my issue is it's cool, like it sounds like a cool idea, except for once you clear out the division, what is left for her?
Sure.
Unless you bring someone else in.
And that's why I was saying I don't like when they overdo it. I personally don't mind it. I just don't want it to be like
every single week. And that's what they were doing.
And I get part of it is too when you're like when you're trying to figure out how do we get her to this match. Especially because I'm sure Mina's schedule, she probably had dates booked for other promotions, so that probably played into a little bit as well.
I also think that again, I said this to you before we came on, there's a chance that Mina could win this because she is officially under the AEW banner now. She's no longer with Shimmer or New Japan or anything like that. I think at the end of the day, it's still going to be time. I think it's still going to be Tony time.
Oh, man. Oh, you're killing me, man. You're killing me. Put me on the spot with that one. Because we've been pretty much in agreement so far. And I want to play devil's advocate so bad. I'll tell you what. I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to hedge my bets a little bit. If Hayter wins, Mina wins.
Okay.
If Mercedes wins, Tony wins. That's how I'm going to
So we're in agreement with that in the sense that I actually think Mercedes wins and I think that Tony wins.
If it goes down like that.
I think that is.
In my head, I would still say Mercedes and Tony.
And it's funny because
in my head, but I think that's what's going to be the determining factor.
I do think that this Tony Storm and Shirakawa match is actually exactly where I have it, kind of in the middle of the card here. I think this is where they're going to have it. I think this is the match placement for this.
I will say this: I kind of wish it would have. I wish they would save it for the second to last match. I feel like that would have been a great little warm up, a great little taste of what you'll get from Ospreay and Hangman. But
so
I can also see I can see going in the middle as well.
The only reason why I'm going to say I don't want it there is for 2 reasons. One, Tony Khan, his booking, he likes to do the ascending thing. So he likes to have big wild match after big wild match after big wild match. He does that a lot. Now, the other thing is, I don't want that match there. I don't want it as like the pre-main event, only because I think the match is going to suffer from having to follow. It would have to follow probably 2 other big matches and have to be before a huge match with the Hangman Page Will Ospreay, because it's going to follow.
I will say this then. I think, honestly, if I'm doing it, I would rather that match follow FTR and Nigel versus Nigel and
So
Dane.
I have FTR and Nigel McGuinness being the next match that we talk about. So they could flip-flop it either way.
I would rather see them do the tag match first, because then, not that I don't want it to make it sound like it's a letdown, but it's almost kind of like a little bit of a let's take a breath, let's regroup a little bit.
I could see this now. With that said, I have FTR versus Nigel McGuinness and Daniel Garcia as the next match on here. I could see this getting flip-flopped, where FTR Nigel McGuinness is actually the 3rd match after Okada Bailey. Then you get Timeless. Then you get Hurt Syndicate versus Sons of Texas.
I could see that. I think that would be a good spot to have that match, the women's world title, to kind of be that.
And then you get the actual tag team title, the tag title match. Now, with that said, let's get on to that. Was a nice little segue for this next match, though. Is FTR versus Nigel McGuinness and Daniel Garcia.
I'm going to be very quick with my thoughts on this one, just from the aspect. Obviously, I think FTR wins. It would if Nigel and Daniel win, it would make zero sense.
It makes
and it's not a disrespectful thing. It would just make zero sense.
It makes no
having
sense
FTR
whatsoever.
Win, and also having FTR win helps elevate them for a tag title shot versus the Hurt Syndicate, maybe even it All In.
Especially since they've gone, they are full heel at this point. Like, I think it does make sense to have them go heel and then have them lose to a makeshift tag team.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I agree with that. Oh, I will say this too. One other thing with when it comes to the tag titles, and here's one of those things where if I really, it's all the more heartbreaking what happened to Jay Briscoe. Because could you imagine the Hurt Syndicate versus the Briscoe brothers?
Yes, I can, because I remember how excited I was when I remember how excited I was when we were getting the Mark Briscoe versus Bobby Lashley match. It was a match I didn't know I needed, and then I needed it. Now I'm just saying, if
in that aspect,
if we had the Briscoe brothers, we would be getting the Briscoe brothers versus FTR. We'd be getting the Briscoe brothers versus the Hurt Syndicate. Up until recently, the Young Bucks. Up until recently, we would have been getting the Briscoe brothers versus the Lucha brothers.
Yep.
I'm gonna put it this way, because if we did not have the untimely passing of Jay Briscoe, which God rest that man, he is also a treasure as far as I'm concerned. That is one of the guys who, as real as he was, you will not find anyone that says a bad thing about Jay Briscoe.
Oh, no. And that was one of the fun things of listening to Mozart and Ulala telling stories, because they had the chance to wrestle the two of them in a tag match very early in their career, and just hearing them tell amazing stories about, about them was phenomenal.
They're those guys, though, like who they portray. That's who they are. They're two,
they're
two farmers from Sandy Fork, Delaware, who they happen to be brothers, and sometimes they happen to fight each other because they're brothers who live on a farm. But we could have gotten.
Yeah, everybody said that they are two of the most incredible human beings that you could ever meet.
Yeah. And I fully believe that. But to go along with this, we could have, with the way they're building things right now, we could have gotten the Briscoe brothers versus Edge and Christian.
And that was another thing I'm glad you brought that up. I obviously think it's going to happen where do you do it at All In, or do you save it for a little later, where when Edge, you finally bring Edge back after getting taken out by FTR, where obviously it'll be FTR versus Edge and Christian, who's reunited.
I think we need.
I guess my question is, when does FTR take out Christian?
See, that's the thing is, I think we need Christian to stop being a creepy little bastard for a little bit.
And I think they're heading in that. They're kind of laying the seeds of that, which is nice.
So let's talk this match a little bit more, though. FTR versus Nigel and Daniel Garcia. I think this is going to be a good match. I think this is another match.
Solid match. I think this is going to be a let it breathe kind of match. Ultimately,
I think this is another one that doesn't need to go very long, though.
No,
I think
this is a fairly short match.
I think this is another
Nigel hasn't wrestled, quote unquote, hasn't wrestled in how many years now?
Yeah,
he's now a commentator. It would be the same thing with a Wade Barrett. You don't expect a Wade Barrett to go, and that was the example I used over McAfee. I know we said it's kind of a McAfee Gunther type of scenario to an extent, even though technically AEW did do it first, did start their storyline first.
That's fair.
But no, I'm not. Don't give AEW a pass on this one. I'm gonna give them a load of manure on this one to an extent. At least Michael Cole, to me, was a lot, and with what happened was a lot more involved than what Schiavone. Now, that doesn't mean
it's because Tony Schiavone's the worst. Although Michael Cole's not any better right now.
No, Michael Cole sucks.
Michael Cole has been terrible lately. But at the same,
Michael Cole has been irrelevant to me for the last almost 30 years.
See, I'd rather him be irrelevant than just bad.
He's terrible. He sucks.
He's been worse lately, and I will say this: Tony Schiavone has been bad for 30 years.
Michael Cole has too. So
fair.
I actually don't mind AEW Schiavone. I feel like AEW Schiavone is a little more of the I don't give a fuck Schiavone.
I think that's my issue now. Is we're at a point where he's collecting a paycheck.
But I don't think so. I think it's more, but I think it's actually coming across really good in that I don't. Anyway, that's irrelevant. We can have that discussion.
I think just in general, I'm not a huge fan of AEW's commentary team.
And that's, I mean, the reality is right now, are there
and
really
that's an
any
opinion
good
thing. I know
commentary
people
teams?
that love them, and I'm like, I don't see it. I'm not.
I'm like mainly
I'm
I'm
not an
jaded because
Excalibur guy. I'm not an Excalibur guy.
and that's okay.
I
I
love
don't mind
Taz.
Excalibur.
I love
Taz is
Taz.
good.
I actually love Nigel McGuinness on commentary.
McGuinness has done I think McGuinness with Shivani, he's brought out a good aspect of Shivani.
I think there's I think they do bad combinations sometimes. And unfortunately, the version of Jim Ross that we get on AEW commentary is a shell of what Jim Ross is.
But also, you have to remember the guy's been, you look at his wife.
He's had different illnesses. He's older.
Illness,
No, I agree with that. It's not his fault. It's the reality of what we're getting.
I'm just glad we get a little bit of Jim Ross. I'm glad that they do it in a smart way.
Like it's special when he comes out.
Exactly. I'm glad that they don't overexpose him. I kind of wish they would do that a little more with Shivani too, to an extent. I wouldn't mind seeing Shivani being a little more of a special attraction as well, or just have him stick with Collision.
I could see that. Yeah, I think that would work better. All right, Slim. Let's talk about the match.
It'll be a good match, but I think we're both in agreement.
It's FTR.
Should be
it's gotta be FTR.
Yeah.
Let's talk about a match that.
You want to mention Briscoe and Ricochet now?
No,
I think that's right around the card where they're going to be.
See, I actually think that I think this match is. I think the Anarchy in the Arena match is next. I think Briscoe and Ricochet are going to be right before the main event. I think that's going to be the lull match. Surprisingly,
the Anarchy and then the main event.
See, I don't.
Just because
I only don't think so is because I think that Anarchy there's going to need to be some time in between that and the main event, so that Moxley can come back out.
Yeah, okay, I could see that.
I think Moxley needs another 20 minutes in between.
Can we also say Moxley heard his name being said and he just started bleeding?
He absolutely did. Slim, I kind of want your opinion on this match.
Moxley's going to start bleeding just because someone says his name.
Yeah, just because. This is So this is a little bit of an interesting Anarchy in the Arena. They've done so many of these matches. I'm only saying it's interesting. I'm not a fan of these matches. I'm saying it's interesting because this is
mind it. I want it though. Like I said to you before earlier tonight. I don't mind it as long as it makes sense. Like for instance, when you had the one where it was Jericho's
group versus like Cody's group. Cody's group, I think. Yeah.
I think it was Cody. But at least it made sense because the two were feuding and it was like a blow-off opportunity. This is the one thing that TK does that irks my soul is when I feel like stuff is just thrown together for the sake of throwing it together.
I agree.
And I understand to an extent, but I feel like it's just thrown together. Let me ask you this. What if instead of it, what is it? It's 5-on-5 or is it 6-on-6? I think it's
6-on-5. So this is the first time. This is what I think is interesting.
6 versus 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 6 versus.
So this is the thing that I find interesting about this match. This is the first time they're doing an Anarchy in the Arena or a match like this in general, where it's actually a mixed tag.
Yeah, I did see that too.
So that is interesting to me. Now then, with that said,
would it have made more sense if you did 3 men versus 3 men, maybe even, or if you really wanted to get the ladies involved, 3-1 versus 3-1, and not have the Young Bucks involved, cut those two out, and not have Kenny Omega and Swerve Strickland involved.
I think not having. Or if you do an actual tag match with Omega and Swerve versus the Bucks.
Doing a regular tag match.
I think we could have done Omega and Swerve versus the Bucks instead. And I don't get me wrong, I don't want to bash on this team too much, but we could have done that match instead of FTR versus Nigel and Daniel. And then we could have had the Ops, Samoa Joe, Powerhouse Hobbs, and Shibata versus the Death Riders. And here's what I would do.
Would you put the trios titles on the line in Anarchy in the Arena? I think that would have at least added a nice.
So I don't even know if I would have made this an Anarchy in the Arena. I would have just made this a normal trios match. Yes, I would have put the titles on the line. Here's the other aspect I would have done of this. I would not have put Willow and What's her face?
Marina Shafir.
Yeah, Marina terrible. I would not have put them in the match. I would have put them attached to the match. I would have had it be because of the amount that Marina gets involved and things like that. I would have had the two of them handcuffed together.
I actually was literally just thinking how intriguing it would be if they were handcuffed together.
I was leading you to it already. But, like, think about how good that would have been is you would have gotten that.
If you did it that way, I agree with even I would have been okay. Like I said, I would have been okay. Anarchy in the Arena, 3 versus 3 with the trios titles on the line. I would have been okay with that. And then you had Marina and or you know what? I would have even liked even better than the two of them handcuffed to each other. But how about the two of them handcuffed to an authority figure?
So I'm gonna throw this out there, and this might be an unpopular thing. The heels are winning this match. The heels are winning this match.
I will say this. I could see this being this to me. If you looked at it truly all the matches, this one to me is a truly 50-50 toss-up to me. I agree with you. Ultimately, I think it will be the heels only because, to me, having them win helps better with the storyline than having the faces win.
And here's the thing is...
And especially because, like I said earlier, when we were talking about Okada versus Bayley, Okada to me is going to interfere.
I think Okada interferes, and there's another person that's been brought into the storyline now that I think also interferes, and that's Gabe Kidd is now helping them out. Now, with that said,
and I think there's a reason why Gabe Kidd wasn't in this match and isn't on this card at all.
I wouldn't be surprised if we get Gabe Kidd. I actually, as much as Swerve has been going after the Bucks, I wouldn't be surprised if we get like Gabe Kidd versus Swerve at All In, which would be a really good match. I'm totally cool with that match. But here's the thing: do you think
we get Gabe Kidd in a match for 0 Hour for the pre-show?
No.
Or do you keep him completely?
I think you keep him. I think he's completely kept out of play until this match. And I think Okada comes out and helps. I think Gabe Kidd comes out and helps. I think that's the biggest issue here. That's why I'm going with the heels winning, and in a very, very young Bucks fashion. They're going to win because the entirety of this match is going to be them and the Death Riders completely outsmarting the baby faces, which I hate that. I hate that.
You know what? I don't mind that because that's to me what the heels should do.
So if they
should be dastardly. They should be like, we need to pull a fast one to help win.
So my issue with the way the Young Bucks do it though is they do it in a way where they out wrestle the baby faces. And then I have an issue with
I don't think you're going to see that. I think you're going to see
I don't think so. I think this is going to be a situation where Gabe Kidd comes out. I think Okada comes out. I wouldn't be surprised if some of the other Young Buck type lackeys come out and help them. There's been talk about maybe the Good Brothers coming out and helping the Bucks.
Who are they with now?
They're with nobody. I think they've done some stuff with New Japan recently, but I don't think they're really fully signed with anybody. Basically, I think there's no...
Let me throw this out to you. Who do you think that Swerve Strickland is prepared for that? They come out to interfere. Maybe they do take, maybe Okada and Kenny fight their way,
I could see that. I could see Okada and Kenny fighting their way to the back.
Coming in and Swerve has backup ready for the faces as well. Would that make a difference if Swerve had prepared backup in case?
I could see it helping, but the problem is
would that make it better? And would you in that scenario see the faces win?
So let me put it this way:
it would have to be somebody from outside. It would definitely have to be
for the baby faces. Who do you see coming to help them? First of all, who do these people have history with?
Who's been out for a while? Ooh.
I'm going to tell you who I'm thinking.
He's not cleared. He's not cleared. There's no way.
I'm going to tell you who I'm thinking and who I hope it's not.
It would be amazing. Let me ask you this. I'm going to throw this name out there, even though I 1,000% know it's not happening. Brian Danielson, I should say. If he came out with a chair and smashed,
I don't think so. I don't think that this is where.
I don't think so either. I think he's definitely I think he'll eventually wrestle a couple more matches, but that won't be for quite a while.
I
He's not
think
going to
if
be
he
cleared for a month.
somehow gets cleared, I think he does one more match with Moxley as a blow off, just to have it, and then he rides off into the sunset. Honestly, I hate to say it, but the only person that I see the baby faces getting to help them out, and I don't want this.
Hangman?
No.
Well, no, that would make no sense because he's in the main event.
All the guys that should help them, that would make sense for them to help them, are involved in matches. They're going to be taken out by this point.
Oh, Hook. Hook
Yep.
would be the one.
Yes,
Yeah.
with his Sharon hair.
I like Hook. I think Hook is very good. I also, though, that being said, I don't want him anywhere near this match.
I don't want him anywhere near this match. I
want him to take a little time to kind of fall out of people's minds and come back and do a heel turn on that.
I think Hook needs to. So Hound and I talk about this all the time. The idea of turning Hook into a monster, which is what they tried to do, I think is terrible. I think it's a bad idea because yes, he's taller than his father. Everyone's taller than his father,
but he's not as built as his father is.
Now the joke that to this day I make about Taz is Taz's line behind the scenes.
Survive if I let you.
Yeah, see that was
menacing.
That was the line he used in front of the camera. You know what the line was he used behind the camera?
Ow, my neck is broke.
No. What do you need to jump for, brother? Meaning he suplexed you without you having to jump. He actually was able to throw all those people.
Damn.
Yeah.
Okay, I did not realize that.
Like he told Bam Bam he didn't need to jump.
And to be fair, Taz actually probably could throw him without him jumping.
You ever see his thighs? His thighs are bigger than his son.
Yeah.
I mean, his son is in entirety. Here's my thing. If they did Hook right, setting Hook up as a monster, the monster he should have been. Hound brought this up, and I fully 100% agree with him. If they had made him, if he was the guy that hit submission moves and tapped you out of nowhere, like the way I say it is, UFC guys do this a lot of times. MMA guys do this, where your submission hold is so good, your submission game is so strong that you can hit a submission like other people hit knockouts. Like how Mike Tyson has that one punch knockout ability. There are jiu-jitsu guys that have such quick reflexes that they can lock on a submission move and have you tapping before you know what's happening. If they did that
if he did that with him, I think it would
work so well because it wouldn't matter how big he is. He's out techniquing people, and you could have him do that with, a bunch of these guys. You could have him do that with a guy and then go have him have a real match with Garcia, and then have him go have a real match with Adam Cole.
Yeah.
I
did think of somebody who could come in and help the baby faces. Ishii.
I hope not.
The Pitbull. I could see him.
I know. I could see him hope not. He's honestly, 900 years old, man.
But you know what? I would be okay with it as long as it's. It would be really awesome if he comes in to help, and after say,
actually, you know what? I know exactly who's going to come out to help. I know exactly.
If Gabe Kidd comes out, he comes out to try to help, and then the Good Brothers take him out.
No, I know. That at least would make sense. I can tell you exactly who's going to come out. If the baby faces win this match, I can tell you who's going to come out to help the baby faces.
Who do you have?
Kota Ibushi. He's healthy. I think he's finally cleared. He hasn't been seen in a while, and he has a direct connection to Kenny Omega.
That at least would make sense. You know what? If Okada comes out to interfere, he could go and cut Okada off, and then it would be. The two of them fight to the back,
So,
and that way, at least you set up where now, Kenny Omega, at least from a storyline standpoint, Kenny Omega could be like, what the hell? You were coming to come after me. That's not cool, dude. Thankfully, I had some backup there.
Yeah.
So at least I can see that. But I still think from a storyline standpoint, having the heels win still makes much more sense.
I think the heels win this. I do.
If you want to protect some of your bigger guys, how about Willow ultimately is the one who throws in the tail, if you will?
I
But at
think
least
that might
you can
happen too. I
some of
don't know. I
your.
think they need to keep Willow
I could see that being like you
because
kind of
I think
your
All In is
bigger.
gonna. I think All In we're finally gonna get Willow versus Mira Mira, right? Marina Shafir. Sorry,
Yeah,
I dislike her so much that I forget her name.
if they do that right, and I love Willow. I think
I
Willow is
love Willow.
super talented.
I think
And I think if they do that right, I think that match could be fantastic. Even though I agree with you, I don't think Shafir is that
Shafir is
good.
she's so.
But I feel like
Have you
if
ever
she
seen
works,
the You Know Me promo?
no,
I'll text it
no,
to you. Don't worry, you need to watch that. When
oh
we're
god,
off air, I'll send that one to you.
oh
All right,
god,
let's move on because I'm tired of talking about these boobs.
main
Truthfully,
event time.
truthfully, I don't like spending this much time talking about Moxley matches. Um, so we get what we've both said is one of the matches
I
we're
can't
excited
wait.
for. Mark
I'm
Briscoe
going to
versus Ricochet. I think
between
this match is going to
Tony
be
and Mina and this. Oh, that's right.
fucking
Yes,
nominal. Excuse my language. This match is going to be legend. Hope you're not lactose intolerant. Dairy.
I think, like I said, I think you're looking at Tony, Mina, you're looking at Hangman, Will, and you're looking at Briscoe, Ricochet as the matches that I'm keeping my eye on as what could be the three best matches of the night.
I think
And that's not to take anything away from anybody
no,
else, because there's going to be some other
I
fantastic
think Briscoe
matches.
Ricochet, you get some great wrestling. I think you get some
But they
great
can
comedy
also,
spots.
yes,
We'll
and that's
get
what's
to see
nice about
redneck
that.
kung fu.
We'll get to see him do something with Ricochet being bald, which will
Something
be
with him
hilarious.
being bald.
We'll see Ricochet do some phenomenal moves.
I bet you Briscoe plays his head like a bongo.
It's going to be something
It's
like
gonna be
that.
something like that. It's gonna be something different. Because that's the thing. I love Mark Briscoe because as good as he is, and as much as he does his some of his comedy spots, he does his spots so different than everyone else that
Well, he does the spots in a way that makes sense.
everything
It
he
doesn't
does makes
feel
sense.
forced.
He follows the rules of Mark Briscoe.
I like that it doesn't feel forced.
Exactly.
It's nice that that's one of the things I
So-
hate when a comedy spot when it's forced.
So Showtime and I talk about this all the time, is that you can do a lot of stuff in wrestling so long as you follow your parameters, type of thing. So we always liken it to Marvel movies. So Captain America lifting a boulder makes sense because he's super strong. Captain America not losing stamina because of the super soldier serum makes sense because of all of that. Like, all of that has been established. You're in this parameters. If Captain America's just started flying all of a sudden,
Then that
it
would be
doesn't
like, what
work.
the hell?
Mark
Yeah.
Briscoe lives in his parameters. He does the stuff that makes sense for Mark Briscoe to do. Mark Briscoe doing something in this match is not going to be different than what Mark Briscoe did on Dynamite, or like, it's not going to change how you felt about something he did on Dynamite. Like, oh, I can't believe he did that when he just did this. He's not going to do that. He does.
And I think Ricochet in a lot of ways is very similar, which is nice.
I think Ricochet is getting to that point much more where, and like he does, he lives in his world. He does his cool spots. I liked it. I honestly think Ricochet wins this match.
Ooh.
And here's why. Ricochet has been dropping some big matches lately. And as much as I think him and MJF were both two of those heels that they can lose every night and you'll still hate them and they'll still get heat, you have to give them a win every so often. And you have to give them a big win every so often. And this is that big win.
I can see that.
This is their way of saying...
Honestly, Ricochet was one of the people I was thinking of that when MJF, if he does start a faction,
I could see him...
Ricochet was one of those
because
people.
he got tossed out of the Hurt Syndicate. I could definitely see that.
Exactly.
I'm not going to lie. Just because of us spending too much time on other things, I want to get onto the main event already. But I do.
Let's do it.
I think that this match is going to be really good. I'm excited for this match.
Gun to my head, I'm going to take Ricochet. Gun to my head, Ricochet.
So I'm taking Ricochet on that one as well. So let's talk about the final for the men's Owen Cup, the main event of the night. That is Hangman Adam Page.
I'm going to have an orgasm by the time that match
versus
is over.
Will Ospreay. I'm going to make a prediction that this match goes 35 minutes.
And honestly, this is why you have some shorter matches earlier to make it make sense later on to have a little bit of a longer match. This is one where it's okay to have a longer match.
They're
because it's going to feel natural in the flow.
They're going to hit each other with 17 moves that should kill the normal man.
They've done enough to build the two of them up that they're not normal men, so you're like, wow, they can survive.
Hangman's going to hit a tombstone somewhere on the outside of the ring.
Yes,
possibly on the stairs. Ospreay is going to do the weirdest flippy move ever that we've ever seen.
And we're all going to be like stunned in silence, and then we're going to burst out in cheers.
I'm hoping Ospreay is nowhere near a screwdriver, because he should never hold one again.
I was thinking that.
Because there's a kid with a screwdriver in his eye right now because of that cage match. Oh,
that's great. Hey, could be worse. They could be driving an ATV around while they're drunk. At least I'm pretty sure he was drunk.
I mean,
if he wasn't, I'd be shocked.
If he wasn't, that might be even funnier.
Even worse.
So let's put this out there. I think this is Ospreay.
It has to be Ospreay. I could see the case being made for Paige. I can. But to me, I think you do a lot. To me, it would be a 10 steps forward, 15 steps back scenario if you have Paige win.
So,
because don't get me wrong, I could see Paige winning and all, and I can understand the case being made, but I think you have to at All In. It has to be Mox. Actually, I really hope maybe Mox loses.
Mox isn't losing the title before then.
I don't think it's going to happen, but I think Mox dropping to Ospreay makes the most sense ultimately. I
think Mox. So that's what I was just going to ask you. Do you think the winner of this match wins the world title at All In?
I do. I really do.
Now I'm going to give you a scenario. Just hear me out. I agree with you. I think this is finally the time that we put the title on Ospreay. He is quite literally your biggest babyface in the company.
Yes.
He is the guy that should redeem the company. He is the company man. With that said, Ospreay is also one of those guys that you can break his heart over and over and over again, and people will still come back for it. And
that is true too.
And
I think
is it absurd to believe that Ospreay loses that match? Hear me out. And then at All Out, Moxley loses it to Darby Allin.
You mean at All In, not All Out?
No, this is All In.
He beats Hangman at All In.
No. So Ospreay wins against Hangman here. Ospreay goes to All In Texas. Loses to Mox. Moxley beats him because we break Ospreay's heart. And then at either All Out or because All Out would be their next actual big pay-per-view.
I actually think are they doing an August one with Forbidden Door?
I'm sure they're doing Forbidden Door, but they're already they're already advertising All Out for Toronto.
Okay.
And
let me put it to you this way. The easy answer to that question is yes. Could they do that and break his heart? Yes. The issue is with that.
I think you turn fans.
At a certain point, you have to have that bit of credibility. You have to still win a big one at some point.
That's what I'm saying.
And that's why I think here's what I could see happening that'd be a little more likely. Where you have a victory, Ospreay wins on Sunday. Ospreay wins the title at All In. Then maybe at Forbidden Door, Moxley gets his rematch and ultimately wins. And then Darby. That would be a little more likely. I could see. I hope not.
I hope not. I think once they take that title off Moxley, I think there's been enough backlash at this point that you can't ignore it.
I just think that, honestly, here's what I'll say. TK is one of the good things about TK. He has things he's got to work on. But one of the good things is he doesn't act like Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon would go, I'm intentionally going to make sure that the person that the fans want does not win the title. That's a very Vince-like thing to do.
It is.
TK is not that kind of person. I think TK realizes I think TK is going to go, this is a Stone Cold Steve Austin. I'm not saying he is Stone Cold Will Ospreay. I'm just saying it's that kind of momentum that he has
No,
built
I
up,
in all
love
honesty,
within the
this
company, that it would make sense to have him winning.
I think this
Have a
is
good long title run.
I think this Ospreay right now is Michael's during boyhood dream.
Yeah, I could see that too. I see that
He
kind
is
of
your
aspect to
biggest
it.
company man. He is the biggest guy that promotes your company. You need to put the
And
belt
he
on him.
can have some big time matches
They
against some big
they
time
need to
opponents
they need to
that
do
would
it
make
where
for
he gets the
really.
match. He breaks open the briefcase. He re-shows the title. He's the champ. The funny thing is because he's such the babyface he is, and he's and his style, he actually doesn't need to have a super long title run
I would like to see a long. I think because Shawn Michaels, that original Michaels title run was till January, if I remember correctly.
till
It was
November.
no, I think it was till January.
No,
Wasn't it? Didn't he?
no, he won it
Or
back in January. He won it back at
did he
Royal
win it
Rumble,
back?
but he lost it originally to Sid in like November or something like that.
Or was it December? Maybe it was December.
Yeah, it was
Anyway,
something.
that's still
But like that's
solid.
what I'm saying is
It was
when
6
I say
months.
not a super long title run, like Moxley has had this title for a really long time now. It feels like
No, he really hasn't. He's only had it, I think, what, 7 months, maybe 8 months at
he's had it
most.
since before the end of the year. He's had it since like September
No, he didn't have it in September.
or October,
I think it was October. I think it
but
was
still
October.
October, and we're in May.
I get that aspect. You're
We've
talking about in theory, you'll have about a
we've
9 month
had
title.
big pay-per-views since then.
Let me throw this scenario out to you. Ospreay wins it. Ospreay holds the title for a year till the next All In, because I think they want to set up All In to be that, or at least I think they should be setting up All In to be their WrestleMania. You know, no disrespect to any of the other pay-per-views,
No,
but
that's absolutely what it is.
And
So he
how about
lost.
MJF? Ultimately, MJF wins the title against, in some kind of an incredible match, wins the title off him.
So yeah,
Or
he won the title.
Kyle Fletcher gets the heel push.
He won the title early in October, and it's late,
Okay.
and it's already late in May. So he's had
Oh no, I get what you're saying. It's been a good 8 months or so.
8 months,
Or
and here's my thing: is it's not even so much that he's been the champion this whole time. Your flagship title hasn't been seen in 9 months. We
in a
need
way,
that moment.
I kind of like that aspect because I think it would be the perfect time. You're right. That would be the perfect scenario for him to win it All In and then reveal the title. I like that.
I totally agree. And my thing with it is once you're done with this, I would keep Moxley far away from that title.
I think you could do a lot of things with Moxley that you're right wouldn't need to be anywhere.
He
near
doesn't need to be anywhere near that title. He can go and do his creative romper stomper shit somewhere else.
Honestly, I hope that he takes a few months off, because it would be nice to have that refresh. If almost, I don't want to DX it per se, but you know how like when Michaels lost and Triple H is like, oh, you dropped the ball and I'm picking it up. I would love to see something like that where, where Claudio is kind of like, Mox, you dropped the ball, now here I am to pick it up and run with it.
I wouldn't mind that. My only issue with that is, unfortunately, Claudio's booking has almost made him ineffectual.
And that's why I think that would give him the opportunity to build.
Truthfully, the guy
himself
the guy in that group that would have been the better option is the guy that's hurt right now.
Pac.
Yeah, if Pac went in there and did it and was like, you came in here with your jeans and your t-shirts and all that. He's like, look at me, I'm a wrestler. I came out here. I'm really out here trying to hurt people in this ring the way you're supposed to be doing it. And like, if he did that, I could see the Triple H type turn on there. But I do agree with you. I think this is Ospreay. I think Ospreay goes to All In. I think he wins.
Just for devil's advocate, let me play devil's advocate for a quick minute while I spray the cat with water because he's acting like an animal. Very cat-like thing to do for those cat people who know exactly what I'm talking about when they act like jerks. Let me play devil's advocate for a second. Hangman pulls off the upset and wins. Does he win the title at All In? You want to break his heart And here's where, how about Moxley recognizes the threat that Ospreay is, interferes in the match to cost Ospreay the win.
See,
Because he thinks he can beat Hangman, no problem. He doesn't want to face Ospreay.
I think no matter who,
But how about this? They make it a triple threat match, maybe.
I don't want it to be a triple threat match. I'll say that. I don't.
I'm not saying it would. I'm just saying. I'm just trying to throw some scenarios out there for you.
I think somehow Hangman wins this. I think yes, they do put the title on Hangman. I think that would be Tony's version of long-term storytelling. Was he's my guy. You didn't appreciate him when he was a good person. You appreciate him now type of situation. I could see it. At the same time,
and don't get me wrong, I think it would be a mistake to do that route.
I don't think it's the right option right now. I
just don't think it's the right time to put the title. I think back right on
now, AEW, the guy whoever takes the title off Moxley,
you froze Steve. You there? You still there? Anyway, well, we're waiting for Steve to kind of his connection to re-engage. Oh, there we go.
There we go.
We lost you for a bit.
I lost you. You froze on me. So here's what I'm saying is I think Will Ospreay is the guy that needs to do this. And here's the reason why. Hangman has way too much gray on him, if that makes sense. There's way too many shades of gray to Hangman. He's been getting booed, or he's gotten booed in the last year viciously. He is a guy who in his match with Swerve fucking date raped him. He put a syringe in his mouth and unloaded it. I don't care what you tell me. We don't talk about that because it was date rape.
No, I get what you're saying from that aspect. Now, my issue also is that I don't think it's the right timing. It would be a terrible timing.
I think it would be a bad move. I think what you need to do right now, the guy that needs to beat Moxley, the person that needs to take the belt off of Moxley and open the title belt and present it to the fans and show I'm the guy, has to be Ospreay. It has to be a company man. It has to be a true blue babyface.
And the good thing is, like I said, TK not being Vince McMahon, I think can say sometimes the most obvious move is the best. Is the right move. And in this case, I know because the naysayers are going to go, oh, it's such an obvious move. That's okay.
Sometimes obvious is good. Now here's what I meant. I'm not saying
all the time, but in this case, sometimes it's okay to be obvious.
Now here's what I meant by Ospreay doesn't need a long title run. If Ospreay were to lose the title before the end of the year, I wouldn't be mad about it.
See, I really want him to have a very long title.
Here's the thing, though. It's exciting to see Ospreay or a guy like Ospreay chase the title. Having people chase him is hard to map that out. Unless you have Ospreay go back to being a heel at some point.
You see, though, he feels a lot like 98 Austin, late 97, early 98 Austin to me. But it has that feel to it. So
I don't disagree with that.
Austin, that first, minus the what happened at King of the Ring, that first title run lasted until what? I mean, a good solid
couple months. A good couple months. It was definitely one of the longer title reigns for that. But here's the thing: is that version of Austin, you look at the guys that went after him during that. You had a heel taker. Yeah, you had a heel taker. You had Triple H turn things around. You had
Triple H was faced by that point, right?
When he was faced, and then he kind of flipped around. That was a later title.
You
had True Rock, you had Mankind, or Dude Love, whichever version you want to talk about. You had some serious psychological matches with that. I don't know if you have that.
My thing. I think you do. I think Darby Allin would versus Ospreay. I think it's going to give it a Kyle Fletcher versus one. There's another one. I think you're going to have MJF, in that title picture. I think you're going to have who was I thinking? Now, of course, I lost my thought of who I was. Maybe a Jericho at some point, having himself a
maybe. I think Jericho's even said though he needs to take time off.
Oh yeah, no, there's no doubt in my mind. Jericho. I'm not talking right away. I'm talking, some months away. You have plenty of people.
You do, but I don't know if you have the same.
Maybe that.
I don't know if you have the same.
Well, you also have to remember the late '90s wrestling scene is very different.
Yeah,
than
well, I
today.
mean, it was a lot more.
I'm not saying in that realm. I'm just saying it would be nice.
It's just
to
it's.
see.
I hate to say it like this because I don't want to necessarily compare it, but I think if you give Ospreay a long title run, a super long title run.
Is it going to be mid 2000 teens Roman Reigns?
No, I think it's going to be even worse than that. It's going to be current Cody Rhodes. It's going to mirror Cody. Think about if Ospreay held the title from All In this year until All In next year. It would, I think, what they end up doing with him almost looks mirror-like to.
How about this? Let me ask you this: is Cody's contract up at any point in the not too distant future?
No, he extended. He extended and then re-extended, and then I knocked stuff down.
No. See what I did? I got you so flustered.
No,
with that. You're knocking stuff
Cody's never leaving. Cody's never going back to AEW. I don't think that's ever going to be a thing. I think
Omega versus there we go. Okada, Omega.
They have talent. The problem is
just saying you could have some phenomenal I get what you're saying.
I think we have phenomenal matches, so I'm not questioning the matches he has
with the fans, because you're right. He does have a lot of the fun of Ospreay is
him chasing.
Is the chase.
Is him
chasing.
I agree with that. Him redeeming, him going after the bad guy.
So if he has a shorter run, maybe he has one where he loses at World's End.
Or whatever, Wrestle Dream. If Wrestle Dream's at the end of October, let's say, you get a solid 5 months out of him.
That was the November one. Full Gear.
There
we go.
So if he lost at Full Gear, I'd be okay with that. And then you turn it around and have him go back to chasing until All In, and you have him win it All In again.
Yeah, no, I could see that.
Have him be Mr. All In.
Who do you ultimately have him drop the title to? Swerve, maybe, because I think that would be a phenomenal match.
I think that would be good. I think there's a lot of people you could have them lose it to.
I think that's the one good thing AEW has is that there are a lot of potential people who could take the belt and run with it too.
I could think of 2 guys and they're on the same damn team. I can think of 3 guys and they're on the same damn team.
Samoa Joe.
No.
I could think of those 2 right there.
I can think of 3 guys that are currently on the same exact team. The entirety of the Hurt Syndicate.
Ooh, that would be an intriguing thing.
Any member of the Hurt Syndicate wins the world title, I am completely okay with it.
I think that they would I think all 3 of them would get a title shot at some point.
If Bobby Lashley won a world title, do you dispute Bobby Lashley as a world champion? Bobby Lashley is a world champion.
No, I would
MJF
think that'd be a really good
is their cornerstone. If MJF wins the world title,
I think MJF could absolutely win the title.
Now here's the dark horse for it. Shelton Benjamin winning a world title is fucking overdue.
Would be phenomenal. Would be absolutely overdue. MVP winning the world title would be overdue. I think it's a little. I think it's too late. I think it's too little too late now. But
I keep saying that Shelton Benjamin is the perfect guy to win the Ring of Honor world title.
That would actually make a lot of sense.
But
that would make a lot of sense.
Guys, we've gone off on tangents. With that said, I am going to cut us off. We have talked about Double or Nothing long enough. We're past our time limit already. Slim, it has been a pleasure as always. I'm pulling the hook. I'm playing us off.
I have to say, real quick before you do, 2 things I want to throw out there. Make sure for those of you who like sports, just like wrestling, you love sports, make sure you're checking out Millennial Sports Gladiators. As always, anytime Slim is on the show, I throw the links down below. Thank you, sir. And the other thing,
and of course, Papa Stroh's GoFundMe is going to be on there.
Awesome. Matt Madness with Mozart and Morgan, which I know you want to have Howard on. They do Wednesdays on their show now. They gave WCW Retro back to Stro.
Nice.
And I know definitely we were talking about trying to get you on at some point.
I'm trying to get on there. Unfortunately, life just didn't work out this week.
I understand. And I know Howard and I are talking about doing an actual night of post recap, a post AEW Double or Nothing recap the night of. So hopefully, if you have a few minutes,
I'm probably down for that because I think it's on a Sunday, so I should be good for that. This weekend in wrestling is huge, man. There's so much. That weekend that you have the TNA pay-per-view or PLE. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, I'll call it a premium live event because you don't have to pay extra for it if you own the app. That's why I call it a premium live event. They do have actual pay-per-views. You have NXT's
Yep.
Battleground. You have Saturday night's main event. You have Double or Nothing. You have 4 big shows in 3 nights.
It's going to be entertaining. It's definitely going to be some fun.
Legion, there's going to be a lot of reviews coming out next week. Just know that. So if we don't do our normal weekly shows, it's because we have to do 4 reviews next week. Slim's going to be on the TNA one with me. I'm really excited about that one. I'm excited to get him back into TNA.
I haven't seen a TNA pay-per-view. I will admit it. I haven't seen a TNA pay-per-view in at least 15 years.
See,
actually no, it might be close to 20 years.
I'm excited for you to watch a TNA show.
Was back when Jeff Jarrett was the world champion.
See, I'm excited for you to watch a TNA show and understand why I'm such a champion for TNA.
Oh no, I when it was on, when Verizon Fios had access and I could watch, I would watch the show every now and then, and it was a fun, entertaining show.
I think the show is going to be good. I think I got to look at what the actual match rundown is for that. But with that said, Slim, thank you again as always. Legion, we love you. Thank you for watching. As always, if you like what you've seen, if you like what you've heard, hit the like, hit the subscribe, hit the follow, whatever it is. Comment. Tell us what you agree with. Tell us what you don't agree with. Tell us what you want to hear about. All of that stuff. We love hearing from you. But until next time, guys, remember, tuck your chin when you bump.